Hey, what's up to the first Gen X and Fit Q&A session? We didn't get a lot of questions on this one, probably because we're just starting out, or because you just don't care as older people how to be healthy. So that's on you. That's not on us. I'm just playing. So I'm Dell, and this is Lena.
Hello.
Lena's a fitness professional. She's been doing fitness how long?
Off and on for about 25 years,
And then you owned a business for how long?
almost 8.
Group fitness, body pump, all of that
Personal
stuff.
training, group fitness, wellness coaching, boot camps.
A lot of certifications and things like that. Me, I just lift weights and do some cardio now at my age. But that's the whole point of this, is to talk about a lot about how couples, live together, or how they can support each other in that lifting or healthy journey. And then also just to answer any questions that you may have that we can answer. She's a professional. I'm not. I just say what I feel. So take that for whatever it's worth
But he's very smart.
in
So
your fitness journey. One of the things we didn't mention is that she is a IPE bikini pro. So she won her first show and then went and did her first pro show, her first amateur show, and then did her first pro show in St. Louis earlier this year. So we have some videos talking about that already up. And then we'll probably talk about that whole process a little bit more. So this is more informal and just geared towards individuals who are our age, which is over 40, pushing 50. I'm 46, she's 43. Just to kind of talk about that whole experience and managing that with live kids and other things like that. So, any other thing you want to say?
no, I do want to say that when we first started dating, Dell took me to lift weights and he had me doing an overhead shoulder press. And he kept saying, cling them together,
Because she
cling them
wouldn't click
together.
them.
And I didn't click them or cling them together, and I started crying.
Click the dang weights.
So that was one of our first dates. I think that
That
was
was
our
like 26 years
second
ago.
date. No, more than that. We've been married for almost 25.
Oh,
Dated for 3.
and she still doesn't click those dang weights.
Boy.
Anyway, so we got a couple questions, and then there's a few questions. This will be a short one that I just threw in there just because I think it'd be useful to talk about. The first one is, do I have to do cardio? And the individual asked this question on Facebook, said, he's doing a lot of lifting, a lot of heavy lifting, does a lot of volume work, with squats and all of those other things. And remember, we're answering from the perspective, if we don't know your age, we're going to answer as if where you are old as us, or older. So if you're young, dude, that's a totally different question. I don't know. I'll let you take a crack at it first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Well, I think that cardiovascular health is very important the more we age, just like weightlifting is as important for our bone health. But as far as cardio goes, you got to think of it as not as far as losing fat, losing weight. You got to think of it as healthy lungs, healthy heart, healthy blood flow. The older we get, the harder, well, our bodies just age. So it's not all about being fast or being super fit on the stair mill. It's about really getting a little sweaty and getting this lungs pumping. And so from an age perspective, yes, cardio is important. However, I've really changed my view, and that's the thing with fitness and nutrition, is it's always evolving. And so we learn as we age, and that's why I think we can bring a lot to the table. But I used to do tons of cardio, thinking it was going to make me thin when I was younger. It didn't. It didn't do a whole lot. I taught sometimes 14, 15 classes a week, an hour class, and I was sweating all the time. And until I changed my nutrition and changed up the way I did cardio is when I started seeing results. And the way that I like to do cardio now, and this is great for the older you get, is steady state cardio. So it's more of a getting your heart rate. I wear this heart rate watch, so I can see where my heart rate is. My range is between 130 and 140. It's very important to kind of get a good idea as to where you're going to be in a good range to burn body fat, as well as not hurting your joints, etc. So I get to that just walking on the treadmill. I do kick it up to about 15 incline, but I don't ever run. I don't ever exhaust myself. I'm not a huge hit person, so I don't think you need that necessarily with our age. I mean, right now we're in preservation mode for sure. So joints, knees, everything like that. You just need to really be careful with cardio, but it's so important for cardiovascular health.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say it depends. Like a lot of it is based upon what you're trying to achieve. And that's the whole thing is that there's no answer without a context for that answer. Like if you're trying to do more endurance things, like let's say you want to continue to play basketball or some other activity that requires you to be in a little bit more of that kind of shape, you're probably going to want to do more cardio.
Or a marathoner.
Yeah, different things. But if, like you're mentioning, you're lifting, you're worried about you're losing your gains.
Is that what the question was about?
A lot of it is, are you going to lose your gains if you do cardio? It depends. I mean, one of the things is when I'm trying to create gains, I kind of cut down the cardio because I know I'm trying to put on a little bit more weight over my create a calorie surplus so that I can feed the muscle to put gains like I'm doing now. When I want to lose the weight and lean up, maybe cut down some, I kick up the cardio. But you got to balance it because you only got so many hours in the day and you're doing other things in life. And plus, you're trying to manage a couple different things. You're trying to manage, your strength gains, your time in the gym. You're trying to manage, how your body is responding, and your body just doesn't recover as well once you start getting older as it does when you were younger. A guy that I like to listen to, Dave Palumbo on RX Muscle, he said, man, the things you can get away with before you're 25 all catch up with you after 25. And I was a living proof of that. So I was playing years of concrete basketball on the concrete, years, 6-7 hours a day. And then, of course, college basketball, and I was fine. My body's recovering. Probably when I started hitting 26 or 27, everything started snowballing on me. Torn Achilles, microfracture surgery, I hurt my back, all of these different kind of things. Just like boom, 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 because my body couldn't recover faster. And that increases as you get older. Your body recovers a little bit differently. So depending on what you're trying to do, you probably need a little bit more protein. You probably need a little bit more rest days in between, and you probably want to do some cardio, but not that high intensity hit cardio, because it's depending.
Well, some of the hit exercises are fine to do, jumping jacks, etc. But like box jumps, and a lot of those things are so hard on your joints. I just read an article that was talking about how hit and that kind of craze probably a good 15 years ago started, and now everybody that was doing that 15 years later are saying that was the worst decision they've ever made, because when they were young they didn't do it, and now it just catches up, like you said.
And you can do hit without
hurting the joints.
You could do a better joint management. So when you talk about recovery messing up your gains, you got to think about it. There's more than one way to do that. So what happens is if you do multiple workouts without recovery, and cardio is a workout, it does central nervous system fatigue. Central nervous system fatigue is what leads to the concept of potentially overtraining. So that's your whole body central nervous fatigue versus that particular muscle fatigue. So if I'm stacking, multiple workouts on the same body part and then layering that with cardio, you're absolutely going to see some restrictions in your gain because your body's not recovering and it's not going to have time to repair itself. But also there's a different thing that can mess you up when you start getting our age. And this is what I had to become hyperprotective of, even though I call myself trying to play basketball once a week, is the potential injury risk that you have when you do things like dynamic cardio or when you do things that are beyond the range without the necessary recovery time, because your body has a finite number of miles on it. Your knees, for example, they only have so much cartilage in them and they wear down over time, et cetera, et cetera. So what I would say, especially for you trying to lift heavy, really manage it if you're going to do cardio, because your heart is working when you're doing cardio.
Here's one of our babies. It's real life here, you guys. We don't script this.
Yeah,
He's getting the cake out the oven for a family dinner tonight, a vegan cake. Yes, we will hit on nutrition in one of these cat podcasts or blogs, but for sure, because we differ a little bit on nutrition, but I think we bring some really good stuff to the table as far as a man's point of view and a woman's point of view. But it is family dinner tonight, and the cake is in the oven, and I didn't want to get up to leave, so son is on that.
So just to tie a bow on it for that particular question with the way that you said that you do it, my thoughts are this. If you're comfortable where you're at, we'll talk about, making sure you go to, this is a guy.
Okay.
If you're talking about going to the doctor, if you're going to the doctor at least twice a year and getting your blood work done and getting tested, and your cholesterol and your heart and everything is fine, and you're focused on making gains in strength and weight, the strength over time, and maybe some cosmetic improvement in how you look, then you got to just look at cardio from that standpoint. Is it helping you to get to that particular goal? Because you're going to use it to kind of, be either heart healthy or to, burn some additional fat. And if your heart is already healthy and is looking healthy when you get, like your blood pressure and all of that, and you're making the gains that you want, and you're looking the way that you want, then there's no reason to really add it. If you're not getting that and you want to burn a little bit of extra fat, and you want to do it in a way while still making gains, what I would do is just start testing. Say, okay, if I add an additional 20 minutes every other day, how does that affect my strength, my mood? Am I losing the kind of the fat that I want to lose? And then play around with it. It's all an equation. All right, next question. I'm 39 and my husband is 43. Can we be a part of this? And I know she's joking. And on Facebook, I told her no. But yeah, really,
I told her yes.
Like we're really targeting folks over 40. But obviously, this is universal. Yeah, you can be young or you can be old. This is kind of universal, and we don't know it all. So we're always open to feedback and conversations around that.
And ask us questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to find out.
Yeah, but really, what I found out looking, around, and probably Lena's seeing the same thing, is there's a lot of people who are talking about fitness, but not a lot of people talking about fitness together. Like people will talk about fitness solo, and we're talking about being more in the household of it. Like we don't live together all the time, usually 2 times a week. When she does a prep, I usually don't, but actually I try to do better while she's on prep just because that's what I'm seeing every day. And then the goal is if I do a show next year when I complete the PhD, I'm going to try to time it around hers so that we can go through it together, even though we eat a lot of different stuff, just to be consistent with that. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. And this is a question that I just wanted to throw in there because it's a real deal. Like we experience it when we work out together. And so I'm sure you're going to have it if you're working out with your significant other or whatever. How do you work out with someone who has different size and strength? And
goals.
And goals. I mean, honestly, it's very difficult to work out with somebody with different goals. I think it's easier to work out with somebody with different strength and size. So if you have different goals, then that really throws a crimp in how you're going to work out. So if I'm trying to gain size, and that's going to determine how I'm structuring my weekly approach to lifting. If she's trying to cut, and if she's training for a marathon or vice versa, depending on what your household is, I don't even know how you train together like that. Maybe there's some days where you can align around.
Well, here's my
strength.
thoughts on it. I feel like it doesn't matter. There have been times, especially during prep, where I'm doing cardio because I'm trying to cut towards the end, and he's over at the weights. It doesn't matter that we're doing separate workouts. It's just motivating to have him there. The drives to the gym where we're talking about stuff, the drives home from the gym where we're kind of evaluating what we went through. It's just motivating. It's encouraging. I can look over and see him. I don't know. It's nice to have somebody else there and to not necessarily do the same workout. I mean, I obviously don't lift the same as him, but when we do work out together, we try to do shoulders together. We just drop the weight when it's, my exercise time or my turn. You don't have to work out together or do the same things. And we found that out a lot during this last prep is because for competitions, you do a lot more cardio than I would normally do. So
yeah, and that's a good point. So, I mean, I guess there's different ways you can come at it. You can go there at the same time and do different workouts and leave at the same time depending on what you're trying to do, and you're still together, right? You're not really having that communication one-on-one, but you're both going to go, you're going there, you talk on the way there, you talk on the way back, and then do something totally different. That's one way to look at it, and that's fine. I think a lot of couples that I do see that do workout tend to do that because different weight of strength gains. But the more technical side of it is and it is a challenge. She's like 5 foot tall and I'm 5'10". So we're talking about adjusting machines. We're talking about adjusting weights between sets.
It takes a little bit more time.
Which it takes more time. You got to understand that. Sometimes we'll do parallel. Like we work out at Planet Fitness, which doesn't have a lot of free weight stuff, which in some ways helps. I mean, because either you're using machines or a Smith machine, which is a little bit easier to adjust, or dumbbells. So if it's dumbbells, then it's no problem because I go get my they only have up to 75. So I get my 75-pound dumbbells, and I go to the bench, knock out my set. She goes and gets hers, etc. So that's easy. It's just like a regular workout partner. But when you get to like something like the leg press, where I'm putting on 4 and 5 plates and she's only doing 2, that sucks. So, because now you're trying to move 3 plates off and put them back on, and so sometimes it's doing a different exercise. Maybe it's doing the machine press versus the leg press with the free weight.
And then we'll switch it up or whatever.
Yeah, or things like that. So it's just kind of being creative in the gym and saying, okay, well, what is it that makes sense that we can do together? Like, I have to raise the seat way up for her, like this high, and then drop it down. Now you have to think about it. Now you have to remember what level you were on, sitting on, for that. That's a real thing. And so it's a little bit inconvenient, but not enough if you really want to work out together.
Well, and we always call it our gym date. I mean, we don't have a lot of time throughout the week. Okay, I call it our gym date. We don't have a lot of time throughout the week. Dell travels a lot, and I'm busy with kids and etc. But it's nice to just kind of have that connect time. Sometimes we even have our headphones on when we're working out together.
I stopped doing that because it's, that's your lifting partner.
Or one.
So that's your one in maybe, but that's your lifting partner, and you want to be. We could talk about lifting partners again, but you really want to be in tune with that person, especially when they start doing heavier weights. So I kind of stopped doing that. Just so that I could pay more attention to what's going on in the communication and conversation in that process.
Well, also, I mean, even though he's lifting heavy like on the Smith machine, say he's doing squats, I'm still able to spot him. Even though I'm smaller and littler, I'm still able to turn the bar to hook it on.
Yeah,
I'm still able to
that's
do
a good
that.
point.
So even though you may be littler than your partner or shorter or whatever, you can still spot in ways and help and motivate. I mean, he yells at me sometimes, do another one. And I would not have done that if I was alone. So.
And then there's a point where she can't spot me on certain things, and then you just have to get another person or do an exercise that doesn't require a spotter. I mean, that's just real. But again, we don't do a lot of free weight stuff. So if it was like a hardcore gym where you're throwing plates on just a straight up bench press or squat rack versus a Smith machine and maybe dumbbells, it's different. And so then you would just ask somebody else if they're around there if you really needed a spot, which most you might. I mean, then that's a whole different ballgame. So there's a lot to consider, but it's not that hard, and it's worth it. And then honestly, I schedule it. I like to work out by myself. So for me, it's as long as I have a structured time where I know, okay, this is the time I'm going to work out with her, then that's a different question. Then I know I can still do me, and then I dedicate my mind on like a Thursday or whatever. Now I do have, when she's ready to start working out to prep again, I have a different strategy that I haven't told her about that I'm going to apply for her to get her right within the context of my schedule this time. So we'll see what that is. So those were a couple questions today. You have anything else you want to say? We're running up on almost 20 minutes.
No. But we will address nutrition. We will address some of the other stuff. Keep sending questions in via Facebook, Instagram. You can find us. You'll probably put some links up where they can find us on Instagram, etc. But just keep asking questions, and we'll try to answer them, and we'll address topics as they come up, or topics that we think need to be addressed. Because there are a few things that we've talked about that we probably should address, but for today, I think that's it. I gotta go finish cooking.
All right, Sunday after leg day, we're out.